Chapter 30: Unexpected Discovery. Squeak! The little golden monkey chirped proudly, jumping around on a few boulders nearby. Kang Tian had no choice but to pick up some dry firewood from the woods, build a fire, and prepare to roast fish for this little guy. The little golden monkey followed behind him, learning one thing or another. Emperor Dan had long since come out from Kang Tian's body, and when no one was around, he was too lazy to hold it in the reverse heavenly cauldron. After some preparations, the two men and the monkey sat around the fire. Elder Dan, what divine ability are you going to teach me? Kang Tian asked curiously as he roasted the meat. That depends on what type of divine ability you need, Emperor Dan asked rhetorically with a smile. Kang Tian froze at his words and couldn't help but think in his heart, what type of divine ability did he need? After thinking for a long time, he couldn't come up with one. On the side, Emperor Dan looked at Kang Tian, who was in deep thought, and laughed. Tell me when you think of it. Time passed for a long time, until midday. Kang Tian still hadn't figured out what divine ability he needed. It seemed like a very simple question, yet he couldn't find an answer. Seeing this, Emperor Dan then reminded, Kid, do you know what the beginning of the path of cultivation is? Kang Tian was silent and listened carefully. Emperor Dan recounted, back in the ancient times, countless ferocious beasts survived on the flooded continent, wreaking havoc on the earth, and there were many natural calamities, causing the humans on the continent to suffer all sorts of disasters. At that time, there was no cultivator's existence. People only used their own strength to fight against the ferocious beasts with their bare hands, fighting in the 9 heavens above, and destroying the 9 ghosts below, which created a flourishing civilization of mankind. Later on, there were clever and intelligent people who studied astronomy and geography, and penetrated some Taoist laws and nature, thus grasping a strong power that surpassed that of ordinary people. And this was the beginning of cultivation. Subsequently, after countless years, generations of brilliant minds and heavenly prides studied and researched, and only then did they create the current flourishing world of cultivation. And the so-called avatars are actually the means for cultivators to fight against ferocious beasts or some natural disasters. And by now, spells, avatars, immortal techniques, and so on have been formed to exist. In the cultivation world, spells are the next and are practiced by beginners in cultivation. Divine powers, on the other hand, are the mainstream and have become the primary means for cultivators to fight against their enemies. While immortal arts are great divine powers passed down from the heavenly realm, possessing the mighty power of displacing the mountains and seas, and so have been made into immortal arts. Emperor Dan finished looking at Kang Tian and asked seriously, Kid, what exactly is your cultivation for? And what is your Tao? What kind of path do you want to take? Tell me when you've thought about it, and the old man will personally pick a supreme divine ability for you. A line of questioning drilled deep into Kang Tian's mind, causing thoughts in his heart to ripple. What exactly am I cultivating for? Kang Tian asked himself, initially because of his parents, and later for the bar mitzvah not to be kicked out of the Wong clan. Among them were also the envy of the city lord's freedom of flying with a sword like that, as well as a man's innate pursuit of power. And now it was still for the 1,000-year appointment with his mother. Thinking about it, Kang Tian couldn't figure out why he actually cultivated the truth. There were too many reasons, yet all of them. While Kang Tian was contemplating, Emperor Dan also looked at Kang Tian nervously. The words he had just asked, practically every master would ask his disciple, because these words would be about a cultivator's lifelong philosophy. One must know that the path of cultivation was originally against the heavens. Not only did one have to face all kinds of heavenly calamities and man-made disasters, but also had to endure the loneliness of long years without a firm heart of cultivation. Sooner or later, one would fall on this path of cultivation. At this moment, Kang Tian's mind was engaged in various mental arguments. If it's just for the 1,000-year appointment with my mother, why do I need to worship the heavenly Tao sect? I can completely cultivate in Heavy Iron City all the way up to the ushering stage. And with the help of the Dan Emperor, it's definitely not a problem. But, is this my choice? Kang Chon asked himself in his mind, which was undoubtedly negative. Right at this moment, the mocking and sarcastic gazes of those Wong family's children, when he had failed to build his foundation time and time again, suddenly appeared in Kang Chon's mind. Immediately after, the vicious eyes of the third elder, Wong Chon, Wong Fei and the others, as well as Wong Ting's disdainful gaze, all came flooding into his mind in an instant. Perhaps Kang Chon's eyes grew brighter and brighter, purple light flickering in his eyes. Perhaps this is the path I'm going to take. Kang Chon stood up and looked at the sun in the sky, the strong sunlight piercing his eyes. Just from his mouth, a firm voice came out. Right now, I still don't know why I cultivate, nor do I know my Tao, nor do I know what path I'm going to take in the future. However, I want to walk a wonderful path, even if this path is very difficult and short, as long as it is wonderful, so that it won't be in vain for me to have come to the world for a time. Kang Chon carried Dan Huang on his back, his shoulder-length hair flying in the wind. At this moment, he was as energetic as the first sun in the morning. A hint of a smile appeared in Emperor Dan's eyes, and he laughed. Since this is the case, the old man will pass on a style to you. The Overlord's fist, which is unrivaled in its domineering and courageous nature, and I hope that it can help you. Fight your way to the top, and fight your way out of this world. However, if one does not have an invincible heart and learns this fist, they will surely die from it. Overlord Fist. Kang Chon sniffed with a confident light in his eyes. Bang, bang, bang. In the middle of the silent jungle, there was a burst of intense collision sounds, only to see that in midair, two figures crisscrossed and bombarded each other, stirring up a terrifying wave of true chi. It was Kang Chon and Xiaojin. After Emperor Dan had passed down the hegemony fist, he had used Little Gold to test his fist. In terms of cultivation, Kang Chon was not yet a match for Little Gold. According to Emperor Dan, Little Gold was now at around the 7th level of the foundation establishment stage, but it was exceptionally gifted. Its actual fighting strength was comparable to the 8th level of the foundation establishment stage, and if once it went berserk, its strength was even closer to the 9th level of the foundation establishment stage. So naturally, it wasn't something Kang Chon was able to defeat at the moment. Therefore, Kang Chon could let go and experiment with his newly learnt Overlord Fist properly. If you want to harness the hegemony fist, you must first have an invincible heart. Only if you are invincible in your heart will your fist be invincible. You kid is lucky. Carrying Kang Chon hegemony blood, you carry a hegemony in yourself. Learning this fist couldn't be more appropriate. Emperor Dan's words came from him, and he would give Kang Chon a detailed explanation while Kang Chon was fighting Little Gold. With his personal guidance from this supreme expert, coupled with Kang Chon's already extraordinary perception, his hegemony fist progressed very quickly. As Kang Chon listened to Emperor Dan's guidance, his mind immersed in the invincible intent of the hegemony fist, his long hair flew, and he raised his fist to blast the sky. His fierce and domineering aura was undeniably evident. Little Jin, beware of the hegemony fist. Accompanied by a cold shout, a majestic true chi surged and surged, stimulating from Kang Chon's body and surging out along his two fists, as if it was a huge wave of waves, sweeping even the heavens with unrivaled might. Little Gold felt Kang Chon's aura. A hint of gravity appeared in his eyes, and above his dual fists, a burst of blinding golden light erupted, like two golden suns, emitting a dazzling light in midair. Obviously, Kang Chon had already made Xiaojin feel the aura of danger. This was the first time it had felt such an aura on Kang Chon. Previously, only the short old man next to the boulder had given it such a feeling. Boom! With a terrifying boom, a terrifying sound of thunderstorm was emitted in midair. Violent waves of true qi rippled throughout the space, and all sorts of air currents shot out, raging haphazardly. Against the terrifying energy storm, Kang Chon's fist still blasted forwards, purple light exploding in his eyes. His messy hair waist, and his entire person exuded an overbearing aura of bravery. "Drink!" Kang Chon shouted up to the sky, his overlord fist going forward without the slightest retreat. Immediately, an extremely threatening aura came from him, and Little Gold's entire body immediately had its hair standing on end, like a sharp sword thrust backwards. Terrifying pressure squeezed in mid-air, roar. Little Gold let out a roar, and his entire body instantly grew taller, and within his pitch-black eyes, two piercing golden rays of light shot out, piercing through the void and sweeping around. Surprisingly, he forced the little furry monkey to go berserk. Not far away, Emperor Dan watched this, his gaze filled with astonishment, not expecting that the Overlord Fist, which had only just been handed over to Kang Chon for a short while, would be utilized with such power by him. It truly shocked him. Worthy of possessing Kang Chon's hegemony blood. Just like that person, this fist technique is completely tailor-made for him. Emperor Dan sighed in his heart, his eyes flickering with essence. At this moment, the battle between Kang Chon and Xiaojin in mid-air had already been divided into winners and losers. Despite the unparalleled power of the hegemony fist, in front of the absolute difference in strength, it was still no match for the berserk Xiaojin. However, after losing to the berserk Xiaojin, Kang Chon was not discouraged at all, knowing that the berserk Xiaojin was a strong person comparable to the 9th level of the Foundation Establishment stage, and he was only at the 5th level of the Foundation Establishment stage now, so being undefeated was also natural. Elder Dan, this Overlord Fist is really powerful. It's so painful to fight, but it's a pity that there's only one style. It's really unpleasant. Kang Chon came with great strides and said with some dissatisfaction. Little Gold also followed and jumped over, waving its claws and squeaking. It also felt that the Overlord Fist was very powerful. Brat, one style can defeat 10,000 styles. It's enough for you. Emperor Dan laughed and scolded. I'll make do with what I've got then. Kang Chon revealed an underhanded smile, infuriating Emperor Dan with a burst of curses. By the way, who created this Overlord Fist? Why does it feel like it was tailor-made for me? After some nonsense, Kang Chon asked curiously. Emperor Dan smiled mysteriously and said, it was created by that senior who had Kang Chon's hegemony blood, just like you 10,000 years ago. It's him. Kang Chon's eyes lit up, full of surprise, and a little curious. But how did your old man get his fist technique? Did he leave a legacy in the Flood continent? That's not true. Emperor Dan shook his head and said, this fist technique was obtained by me from a relic. That relic should have been left by that senior. And I found this style of Overlord's Fist in there. Oh, what relic? Kang Chon's eyes lit up. Don't get any ideas, you brat. That place is a forbidden place in the cultivation world. I only managed to escape from it after 9 deaths back then. Emperor Dan laughed and scolded. However, as far as I know, there should be 9 styles of this Overlord Fist. But with my strength at that time, I could only get this style. Wait for a day when you are strong enough. Then it's not bad to try your luck. For now, you'd better be a good boy and learn this style. Kang Chon heard the words and immediately dispelled the idea in his heart. What level of existence is the Dan Emperor? Where he has to die 9 deaths, he went now is simply asking for death. After rehearsing the Overlord Fist once again in the back of the mountain, in the evening, Kang Chon said goodbye to Xiaojin. Passing through a dense jungle, the buildings of the royal residence could already be seen. Kid, quickly hide your breath. There's someone rushing ahead. Their strength is above yours. Emperor Dan's voice suddenly came from his mind. Kang Chon was instantly on guard, closing his breath, hiding his breath, and hiding into the grass on the side. Whew! However, in a moment, two figures joined hands and appeared not far from Kang Qian. Surprisingly, it's them. How could it be? Kang Qian, who was hiding amongst the grass, stared wide-eyed. He recognized all the people who came. One of them was his great enemy Wang Chon, and the other one was surprisingly Lin Beixian's son, Lin Wei, who was the Lin family's head Lin Beixian. This was the back of the Wang Fu mountain. Wang Chon appeared here. Kang Qian had no surprises, but this Lin Wei appeared here was strange. Moreover, everyone in Heavy Iron City knew that, although the three great families were polite on the surface, they were secretly fiercely competitive. Especially the Wang family and the Lin family had the most prominent relationship.